Hi everyone. So this is my behind the scenes series for Diwal'Oween. Now it's our peak season and you can order Diwal'Oween for your office, school, library, community center, or if you just want to watch it at home, it's available on our website, Diwal'Oween.com. And Diwali is a school holiday in New York, so that's our family audience will be happy about that. Today I want to talk about producing Diwali. Basically, as a producer, you manage all the realistic things. So if in the script it says, I want a pink elephant, then you have to say, do we really need this elephant? Can we make it a dog, a more accessible animal? Or how do we get a pink elephant? Do we have to go to the zoo? Is there some sort of service? Do we go to the circus? Do we go to a wild animal sanctuary? How do we make the elephant pink? Do we paint the elephant? Are there paints that will not hurt the elephant when we paint the elephant pink? So you look at all this logistical stuff. How many crew members will you need? So with Diwal'Oween, I wrote the script in a day, and then going into production, first I broke down the script. For those of you who don't know, this is a multi-cam way of formatting the script. So I had a single camera, which is how I normally write, and the multi-cam draft here also. This is the single cam script. You can see here the scene numbers that I added. So as we went through the pages, the final draft was 51 pages. These are the revisions for the new scenes that we shot in 2019. So this is like the final production draft after everything is finished. And these are the webisode cuts here that there's no real format, official format for, but I just made it in this way. So when you break down a script, you basically make a list out of everything that you need in the entire production. So here I will show you the breakdown. So when you're starting producing, you're really getting into the nitty-gritty of the production. So this is called a breakdown. So it has the scene, the page count. Usually one page is a minute on screen. So this is how you can estimate the page count, day, night, when it's supposed to take place, the location, the description of what happens in the scene, the cast, the extras, and any props, animals, vehicles, or stunts. So here we needed an airport with planes in the background, for example. And this was the first draft of everything. And then there were Diwali decorations. I collected these things over time when the season was over the previous year. And then parking tickets, various things that we needed to collect, bicycles for the children. So in doing the breakdown, I realized that Manvir's character is a big character, an important character who is in half of the movie. So I realized I needed to do the casting really well and be very specific for every character, but especially for that character, I wanted someone who was actually Sikh and who actually could portray this comedy character who's also serious. I also was like, okay, I want Mott Street. We're going to be in the woods here. We're going to need a police car. The alleys, we'll have to get permission for that. How are we going to get a train station? Then I started looking up getting clearance for a train station. And then we needed sparklers, a diamond ring. When you watch the movie, all this will make sense. Barfi, chaklis, a lot of ethnic specific stuff. And so then I was like, oh, we're going to need a really good art director who can fake fireworks and who can, do all these decorations. And even if I did the initial setup, I realized, working with people who understand the culture is really important. And then I also realized we had a lot of actors and wardrobe, and what I had written was a much bigger project than I had previously directed. I had mostly directed one or two people in short films, But I became more confident because I had just directed the ABC Disney Showcase and Aquafina's show. So I thought, okay, I can do this. And first I thought I can do it as a film school style, just run and gun. But then I realized I wasn't really happy with the quality the first day we went out, and we needed a bigger crew to manage the children. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself. This was the first draft of the schedule that I did. And as you can see, it's a pretty big production here. This was a 6-day schedule. Each location was separate. I just did this in Excel for ease of communication with people who didn't have other apps at the time. And so here you see the airport is what we were going to do first. And then JFK Airport was really hard to clear. And Newark Airport, we had a problem with on another production. I ended up doing a lot of location scouting by myself, which I had also done for feature films I worked on. So now I was happily doing it for myself. And I went to all of the smaller airports in New Jersey, and one of them, the owner was sick in the hospital, and her husband really didn't care what we did as long as we didn't bother the flights. And then we agreed to have breakfast and lunch for our crew there and cast. So it worked out, and they were very generous, and we could even shoot inside the building. So we ended up shooting a lot there. This was a very ambitious schedule. So the Chinatown scenes ended up being 2 days on the schedule. We needed a police car. So the art director, we found a small electric car like the police cars that the traffic police drive. That's funny. We found it on Turo.com. There was a guy in Jersey City who had it. And then we ordered the stickers to put on one side, the shooting side of the car. So we only filmed on that one side, and the other side is just through the window, so you don't get the wide shot of the police car. And there were all these other things we had to assemble either over time. I borrowed a lot of props from relatives in New Jersey. It was kind of like a community effort at one point. I was like borrowing a lungi from one person and a tea set from another person. And we even got the entire house donated by a family friend. So this is how I figured out, okay, I've written something bigger than I've done before. How am I going to accomplish this? Then I realized, okay, we're shooting with kids. A lot of these scenes are with kids. So we're going to need all these costumes. So either they bring their own costumes, or we are going to have to make them. And then it became a clearance issue also. And then we needed the dog. So finding the dog was also a challenge. I went through a lot of the local dog clubs to find a dog. And then one dog had injured his eye in a hunt. Although it looked Halloweenish, I wasn't sure that was the right look. The other thing is the whole movie had to be shot during the peak fall foliage season. So the year before, I had taken a bunch of pictures, and I figured out peak fall is October 7th to 17th. So that's the window we have to shoot the exteriors. Normally you would schedule around the actors, but we were scheduling around the fall foliage. So it was like whoever was available. And then these scenes had police. So I did not want to do anything without a permit. I didn't want my actors getting shot by accident in a situation with the police, as we've seen, or getting ticketed for wearing a police uniform. Anyway, you need a permit to wear a police uniform nowadays, anyway, in New York. So I wanted to do everything by the book regarding this project. So we even got the child welfare office from the state of New Jersey, and that caused some delays one day when one of the parents, who happens to be my cousin, had not checked out, and it was her own birthday and she was meeting a bunch of friends. And so they almost shut us down. The state almost shut down our production, but we were like trying really hard, and the officer could tell that it wasn't a kidnapping situation or something. So he let it go, but we wasted almost 5 hours, 3 hours on set waiting for that. And at the end of that day, I wanted to do a one take, and the whole thing got very rushed. It was like a lot of coordinating all the dancers, and I wanted like the real Diwali, Navratri fall feeling in New Jersey and the Indian American community. So I really wanted the whole dance troupe and the, you know, that's how we grew up. So that bit of nostalgia and how it really is also. So that was important to me, to have an authentic, you know, New Jersey Desi Diwali season. And Navratri, we were actually shooting during Navratri, so I wanted the Garba Ras dancers, and we found a group through the community, Aum Dance Creations. They rehearsed ahead of time 2 dances actually, and then we only had time for 1. Unfortunately, we were also shooting in the woods, so that presented technical challenges, like the battery on the monitor would run out, and also controlling the kids became challenging. I realized working with children, you need even more people on crew to manage the children. Although their parents were there watching everything, every step, you know, things can still happen. And then secondly, everything took a bit longer than expected. So I wanted like a proper AD the next time around. I was leveling up my own production at the time, from doing sort of scrappy student films to something a bit more accomplished. And also I either had to have more crew or fewer children. So the second time around we went to the woods with the children, we only had 3 kids because of that. And in terms of costumes, I had them mostly bring their own ethnic wear or regular clothes, and we just chose the ones that were in character for that person. And in the case of the kids, they either wore their own costumes, or 2 of the kids, my nephews, their dad makes their costumes. So that was really cute. And I was like, oh, that's also, we can put that on social media, how to make your own costumes. You don't have to, you know, buy something. And then for the ethnic costumes, even within the Indian and Hindu community, for Navratri, for example, I didn't realize everybody wears lehengas, and our cast members had brought saris. So at the last minute, all of these actual Gujarati neighborhood ladies came with our dancers, and they were so dressed up. It looked like they were going to a wedding. And I was like, oh my God, our cast is totally underdressed. So at the last minute, they had to borrow clothes from the woman who owns the home, who was also hosting Navratri that night at her house. So these things came up, and even within a culture, there may be different traditions or different outfits for different festivals that everybody may not be aware of, you know? So Shambedi had brought a sari, and then I was like, if she's hosting the party, wouldn't she be wearing a lehenga? Or her character's a little campy and offbeat, so maybe she's like bucking the tradition of wearing a lehenga. You know, these are little details, but people notice all this stuff. And especially Gujarati people would notice in a Navratri scene. And then that also became a challenge of hiring crew. Like, we had some amazing people who work in fashion, but then one person was not used to dealing with people who are not models. So, you know, the older cast member who didn't have model hair or something like that, I was like, you just have to make it work. But then also everybody on the crew should be funny when you're making a comedy. So then for the preppy gay husband, she tied 2 preppy sweaters, so it looked funny, like he's very extra but he's very preppy. These days, interior day is white, exterior day is yellow, and then we go into nights. So actually what happened was, this Bobby proposes to Seema, that became a whole evening. The second half of our day, we started at 5 for the children. We got the scene in the kitchen with the children, which was part of another scene, interior house. And the kids are asking for candy and they know all the snacks in the home, which is something when I grew up, the neighbors would always hang out with each other and we knew each other's kitchens and where the snacks were after school. So that came from my own childhood. And then this scene, Sima waits for Bobby. This was a montage sequence. Sima waits for Bobby while the trick-or-treaters arrive. So that didn't take very long, but we needed darkness outside. And we did the kitchen 5 o'clock to 11 o'clock, and then 11 o'clock to 4 a.m. we shot this proposal scene outside. And then we were starting to lose time, so I had to cut something that was very important, which was the Ninu giving it back to Bobby. We kind of lost something, but we had to do it for the time schedule. And then this scene, Lata gives Sima a guilt trip. I also changed some of the names later. This one was interior day, but we actually shot it at night and we lit the house for day, but you can't tell. That one, and also the tea party. The tea party is interior house. So that day we actually ended up shooting 10 pages, which was pretty impressive, and everybody was clapping by the end of it. Then I was fundraising. So I tried sending it out to all of the brands, getting brand sponsorship, product placement, brand engagement. There was only one company that was funding shorts at the time, and they were looking for comedy. So I submitted that. But, you know, if you don't have any stars attached, although everyone is an amazing actor and people have started on Broadway, it's challenging. So then I went to Silicon Valley and pitched it there to Silicon Valley people. And part of it I paid for myself or the friends and family route. So that's why the post-production got very delayed. And then I applied for a lot of grants, and many times I was a finalist for like $50,000. And they even asked me once to be on the jury. And I was like, no, I'm applying. It's the first year of this prestigious grant. And I was a finalist, but I didn't get the 50,000. So every time there was like a delay of 3 or 4 months until you hear back from these nonprofits, and it's very stressful. So I think the next project I won't be able to do that way, or maybe I should have done more crowdfunding also, you know, but I wasn't really familiar with that process so much.